We learn this truth. We've talked about this a little bit. When we put on our Jesus goggles and we look at the Old Testament through those lenses, like Jesus did in Luke, where he said, all of this points to me. We put on those glasses and we look through the lens to the Old Testament to what Jesus shows up, how he shows up there. We see it that way. So follow this. Look at how this plays out. In verse 25, where does it say that David went to hide? He went to hide in the rock. In verse 26, what was it that hid him from Saul? It was the mountain, rock. It was that mountain, verse 28 says, was renamed the Rock of Escape. Maybe you see where this is going? It was the rock that God used to save David. Here's what you need to know. Here's what we need to remember. That's still how God works today. The difference, though, is that we have a greater rock in which to hide. And notice that R is capitalized. We have a greater rock in which we can hide. See, the rocks that sheltered David were merely granite or sandstone or whatever rock formation it was. And yes, God used those rocks to save David from Saul. But the rock I'm referring to is found in Psalm 118, verse 22, one of the most quoted scriptures in the New Testament. It's this verse pointing us to Christ. It says this: the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. So no offense to Dwayne Johnson, this is the true rock, right? This is the rock, the cornerstone of our faith, the most important piece of the entire foundation, the cornerstone. Jesus is the dividing line of salvation, the only solid rock on which we can build our lives that will last forever. He's the Isaiah 26 everlasting rock of ages, the secure foundation of our lives. He's the one Deuteronomy 32 calls the rock, whose work is perfect. All his ways are justice, without iniquity. He's faithful. He's the one the Psalms refer to as the rock and my fortress, my deliverer, my God in whom I take refuge, my shield, the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. He is the one 1 Corinthians 10 calls the rock as Christ. He is the one we come to for living water, the one we come to for eternal water, the one we come to whose foundation will not be shaken, even when the flood waters rise, Matthew 7 says. See, this is the truth. Christ is the rock in which we can hide. He is the one who stands between us and the enemy. He is the one who laid his life down in between us to pay our penalty. He hides us. Like, don't think, well, I gotta go hide. He hides us. He protects us. He preserves us. He saves us from sin. He saves us from the enemy. He saves us from death eternally. That is why, church, that is why Hannah, back in 1 Samuel 2:2, if you remember all the way back to that point, when she prayed, what did she pray? There is none holy like the Lord, for there is none besides you. There is no rock like our God.